All right. I know October has been a lot of fun with the baseball and the football, but there's also another sport that just started its new season this week. Well, 2 seasons. We had the NHL a week ago, and this week, the National Basketball Association's 2022 to 2023 season has begun. After the Celtics won their fourth championship in the Steph Curry era, we had an offseason of one major player trying to get his coach and GM fired. We had horny coaches. We had players fighting amongst each other in training camp. And now it is all up to a head, and we could kick off a new NBA season with that and more. So let's do it, my NBA Productive Conversations crew. Today, joining us, Alex Ranniello. What up?
What up, man? Happy to be back.
And we also have fresh faces, new ideas here. What's up?
Hey, I know I haven't been streaming in a while. I hope to get back to it in the next couple weeks. So there's that.
Hey, man, we know you are going to do it. Especially, I know you have especially what you do specifically, the next couple weeks are going to be quite busy with the midterm elections and everything.
Fuck yeah. I hope I get some stuff before that.
Good times ahead. So we'll focus on those politics in a couple weeks, but now let's focus on the start of the NBA. And this is going to be a good one. As I said, after quite a controversial offseason for lots of teams, it's time to now jump right into it. So let's start with Alex's team and the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron's in year 20. There's questions of Russell Westbrook. Is he coming off the bench? Is he not? And we have Anthony Davis for now. And after missing the playoffs, it's time for them to, I think, try to get some glory back, especially especially the clock is ticking for LeBron. So for you two, we'll start with the Lakers. Do we think in year 20 that LeBron James has any chance to allow the Lakers to be dominant in the West?
Alex, it's your team. You can go first, man.
Oh boy. You're gonna make me eat crow first. I'll be honest, I'm pretty black-pilled about this team. I'm just looking down the roster. It seems like a lot of peons for LeBron's reign there in Los Angeles. I think that ultimately we're going to see kind of a transition of power in this organization as the season goes on. I think it's going to be really passing of the keys to Anthony Davis, particularly in the second half of the season when they, shift their future into his hands, as long as, his health and his well-being is intact. But I think that's kind of been, the premier focus the past 2 seasons, particularly last year. And I think that, you'll see LeBron kind of take, frequent amount of possessions off on defense and kind of, regress into more like that top 8, top 10 kind of player realm, I think, in the league. And I think that we'll see probably a little hike and boost in productivity and stat wise for Anthony Davis. But I think that this team is, looking to be probably around the bottom half of the Western Conference in the playoff picture. We're looking at maybe around like a 5 to an 8 seed, I believe.
That's not Lakers like.
That is the most optimistic take I think I've ever heard for this team.
I got to call balls and strikes with this team. I just don't have a whole lot of faith in LeBron's the roster.
No, you're going to have one highlight for this season, and it's when LeBron breaks the scoring record. And then second highlight is when they trade him and Anthony Davis.
Trade LeBron and Anthony Davis.
They're going to force him. Look, this roster is terrible. It is this roster objectively outside of the top 3. It's probably the worst 4 through 10 of like any team in the league, short of like Utah, who's objectively trying to be bad and still has some pieces. Like, this team is terrible. It is just bad. I don't like. You're conservatively the 10th best team in the West.
Oh my goodness.
It's not. I don't. And look, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna reiterate this. I assume at some point. The idea that like trading Russ and the 2 first for Tucker and Hield, or for Turner and Hield. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna make you probably make the playoffs, but it's not gonna fix. You're not gonna win a title for that. You're gonna give up control for the rest of the decade. It's not worth it for that trade. If you're looking for an actual big, that's not going to cost you an arm and a leg, I think it's Wes and 1 pick for Jakob Poeltl. I think that's I people are like, oh, you want Miles Turner? You want Miles Turner? It's like Jakob Poeltl's sitting there. Like San Antonio, there's one other center on the roster. It's Gorgie Jang.
All right, it looks like we have a streaming issue that should pop off in every second. But reiterating off of that point, Alex, do you agree with Bach on this, that they would trade LeBron James and Anthony Davis?
Well, you may have to, depending on the progression of the season. If it feels like it's a sinking ship, I think that's definitely a possibility.
Can you imagine those headlines? And where would he fit? The Knicks?
Yeah, well, he's not going to fit a whole lot of places. I mean, he's trying to, line up the timing with to get Bronny in Cleveland or wherever he gets drafted. But I just think it's pie in the sky. I think this team. Well, now when I said a 5 through 8 at the bottom half of the postseason for the Western Conference, I'm taking it two things into consideration. I'm expecting the Western Conference to take a step back and make it more of an even playing field amongst the conferences. But also, I'm saying at a best case scenario, that would be the best half. But this roster is depleted, and I think that there's a lot of young guys with limited to zero experience that are going to be able to get that team over the hump if they do make the playoffs.
All right. Yeah, we looks like we have Bach.
Just crashed.
We have Bach back. Do you want to just add on to your any more of the Lakers point before we move on?
Yes. Hold on. So, it's going to be bad. It's going to be a circus for this team. I don't understand why they extended Rob Pelinka.
Me too. That was a weird one.
Because he's LeBron's bitch.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. Look, looking at how bad this team is going to be. Like they can't suck this year. Like you got to figure it out in the summer, because if you're bad this year, you're handing this pick is unprotected to the Pelicans.
That's right. They're not having a first round pick next year.
It's no. This year's a pick swap. So they end up how mad do you think they're going to be if if AD gets hurt and LeBron shuts it down and they get the first pick?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They won't have a first round pick at all, I don't think, right?
Yeah, it's a pick swap. And then next year, the Pelicans have a choice between the 24 and the 25 pick.
There you go.
So you're potentially looking at top 5 picks in the next 2 to 3 years that you've pissed away. I mean, granted, look, you make that trade for Anthony Davis. You want a title for it. You make the trade again.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone disputes the fact that trade wasn't at the point. It was the Westbrook part of it, and then because look, there was pieces there. There was solid pieces.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Sorry.
That you could have done, and even the Buddy Hield deal wasn't terrible.
No, I was just gonna say I think that was really more so the straw that broke the camel's back, because you can make the case that the Anthony Davis trade was worth it just solely in the 2020 championship, but I think what really tipped them over the scales and just kind of threw everything all out of proportion was that trade for Westbrook, because they had a better deal with Buddy Hield.
Yeah, it's the highlight of this season for them is going to be when LeBron breaks the scoring record, similar to the end of Kobe's era when he broke Jordan's record and then his final game. That's the type of shit you're looking for this season.
Yeah. And you mentioned, last thing on this, then moving on, you mentioned about the possibility if they do trade LeBron and AD. As of today in early October, where do you think they could be a good fit?
Maybe LeBron anywhere.
True.
It's still LeBron, and it depends. It really depends on who's where AD goes. Because he's not going to Philly, he's not going to Denver. Memphis would still be, but I don't think if the Dallas had any ability to trade for him, that would be a fun team.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure there's plenty of teams that would trade for it. Atlanta.
Yeah, he would probably he'd probably got a conference.
Yeah, they would give him to Atlanta or Toronto. Honestly, a trade with Toronto would get him a lot of decent pieces back. Something built around Siakam and some of their other like young guys that would actually stabilize the franchise for a couple of years. But
All right. Dolo, definitely mark that one. David Bach predicting LeBron and Anthony Davis get traded
so
at some point.
here's the thing. They would force like LeBron would ask out. Like he's never asked out. But it would be kind of like I can't do anything with this roster, and it would be like a mutual agreement that it's over.
All right, cool.
But what pisses me off too, just both as a fan and an observer of the league, it's like they've literally curated and created this roster around his whims and demands in every city he's been in. So at a certain point, there needs to be some kind of reflection point where the check comes to the table, and it's like, all right, dude, you got to pay up.
Yeah, that's why I think trading the 27 and the 29 for Buddy and Turner is a bad idea, because that's it. You don't have any control of your picks for the next decade, and it's not like the best case scenario is he stays till his kid is drafted in 2 years.
Yeah,
and then maybe he hangs around the league until the other one is drafted like 2 years later. I don't remember how old the other one is. And then you're left with Anthony Davis and no picks for, the rest of the decade. Like, and
even that, dream scenario.
Well, this is a good transition for a player who had no problem telling his team in office that he wanted to get traded. It was either him or the GM and the head coach. And you know who I'm talking about. Let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets. We did a whole podcast based on KD's request to get traded. Ultimately didn't happen. I guess cooler heads prevailed. The owner didn't nudge. And, respect to him for that, especially for a league where the NBA players seem to clearly have the edge over the other owners in the league. But nope. And, as of today, they started their season. They did get their ass whooped in game 1 of the year, but ultimately it's just game 1. The Brooklyn Nets with Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and Ben Simmons leading the squad after an awkward offseason and all of that drama. Do we think that this team can push away those issues, play basketball, stay healthy the whole time, and can they finally be a legitimate, comfortable, and respectful team in the East this year, where the key is it's drama-free?
No.
Solely focus on basketball. No, you still say they're still going to just get
this team winning the title would be like the most frustrating thing I can imagine. There's, first off, Ben Simmons is this generation's Carmelo. He's essentially the same player he was when he was drafted, has made zero ability to change anything about his game to improve, and he doesn't care. He's just going to coast on that ability. Mm-hmm. This roster winning, like, they have the ability to win. If you put KD and Kyrie together playing at the peak of where they were, like, they were the 1 seed before he got hurt, and that was with Fat James Harden and no Kyrie. Like, this roster has the ability to win a title. It'd be incredibly frustrating. Kyrie, especially during the summer, had some moments where it looked like he was. I ideally should have been suspended. If I was the team owner for some of the things he did, I was suspended. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Look, again, this isn't like the Lakers to overreacting to one game. I was watching the game. It looked like just one of those nights where it didn't matter what they did. They just couldn't score.
Yeah.
Like, that was a lot of what KD was like. KD was doing normal KD stuff, and it just kept coming up short. I don't know. I'd be incredibly frustrated if this team won. I don't think they deserve it. I think, look, good on ownership for saying, no, fuck you. We're not trading you.
Yeah.
Let's go out and see what it is. Like, there's some, intriguing pieces on this team. I like some of their young guys. I don't know how, I don't know how they beat Philly other than they just run them off the court because Philly is old and slow.
Yeah.
But I don't know how they're going to beat Milwaukee. I don't know how they're going to beat Boston. Like, right. That's where you are. Like, and I'm sure at some point we'll be talking about some of these other teams. Like, if you're not even at the level of like where Miami is, you should just go for Victor.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it just depends on the cap of our expectations with this team because I see them more as like at best like a second round exit. Simply because I think they're, obviously they're loaded with talent. You got, Kyrie, KD, and Ben Simmons, but it's like outside of that, I think the range of the roster is a little thin. I mean, I like Steph Curry, I like Claxton, what they can produce, but there's not a lot of gel and cohesion with this team. It seems like they're kind of built to be a small ball roster, kind of putting either Ben or KD as like a soft five. And I just don't know what to expect with the cohesion of this offense. I mean, are they going to be playing, downhill? Are they going to be, in a standard half court set most games? And just the reliability factor with the health concerns and commitment from Kyrie and KD. I just think that they're kind of falling on fair weather, as like fair weather fans, and you can't rely on that if you're going to make a deep playoff push.
Actually, there's a really interesting comparison that I just thought of. You remember like prime Rondo, like as the Celtics right before they traded everybody. There was that weird dichotomy where like KG and Pierce all wanted to be in the half court, but Rondo wanted to run. That's kind of what this team is. Like that's where they're kind of stuck. Like Kyrie and KD are going to just basically cook everybody in the half court, but Ben Simmons is as his best when he runs. So like they have to try to figure out how to do that because they have like if you do a bench unit where it's like Ben Simmons, Patty Mills, I don't remember who their rookie big guy is, and Cam Thomas like running around doing all that stuff. That could be an interesting unit. I don't know how many games it's going to win, but that's a different look that you can throw at people. And to be fair, Sean Marks, has made some mistakes like throwing in Jared Allen into that deal. But he's still a good GM. And and to be fair, like I don't know if like this was a thought that I had a couple years ago when Billy Donovan was coaching the Thunder, and every year there was a massive roster change. Like he had like Katie and Russ for 1 year, and then Katie was gone, and then he had Russ that 1 year, and then they brought in Carmelo and Paul George, and then he had them all again for like that second year. Like every year is a massive upheaval. That's basically what Steve Nash has had to deal with every single year. So it's not clear whether or not he could be a good coach, which he probably could be. Like he got a lot of good players.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Again, I do not want this team to win because some of them
don't deserve to. It's just stacking the deck in terms of talent, and I don't think that it does any service to the league or to the teams in the East that built constructed rosters the right way through their general management.
Well, to be fair, they did construct a roster in the right way. You want to be able to have a roster that can win for a championship. They're only a KD foot size away from probably winning the title 2 years ago.
That's right.
So, I mean, and we got 15 games out of him, Harden, KD, and Kyrie together because Kyrie decided to be anti-vax and then Harden was fat. Like, it's not like it's the weirdest experiment that it's basically like Liz Truss's reign in the UK. Like it happened so fast that we don't know what to make of
it. Oh man, tell me about it. Well, definitely, whether it's a battle of morals and ethics, we know that the Nets will be talked about all season long. Whether it's ESPN and Stephen A, Coward, this show, I no doubt know that we're going to talk about the Nets a lot for the next 6 months. And a team that will be definitely talked about, looked at carefully, and cause a lot of eyeballs to see what this team can make of is last year's winner of the East, the Boston Celtics. Obviously, we know what happened. After Ime Udoka has one of the best rookie NBA coaching seasons ever, he gets engaged in an alleged affair with some female staff member of the Celtics staff, leading to him getting suspended for the entire season. Joe Mazzulla comes in, and now we're going to see how this affects this franchise moving forward. So a lot of different avenues you can take. The first one I'm going to take with this one is, do you think Ime Udoka is ever going to actually coach the Celtics again? Do you see him coaching at all? Okay, you do. Why is that?
I think the reason they only suspended him for a year is because he would take the job in Philly if they fired him.
Yes, I've heard that, and also possibly taking the job in Brooklyn if they would actually fire Nash for that.
Yeah, no, he's gonna coach again. Look, this team is probably better than it was last year. I still
Mhm.
don't think they're the best team in the East. I still think it's Milwaukee. Um, we can pretty convincingly argue that had Milwaukee's second best player not missed the entire series, and they got one random Grant Williams decided to turn into young Ray Allen for a game, the Milwaukee would have won the title. Like
Mhm.
this is there's still 1B to Milwaukee's 1A. This is a deep, good team. I think Brogdon really helped solve them. I'm not too worried about this. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, like almost this could be a story that just brushes under the rug, and one day it'll come back and like, hey, yeah, that happened. But forget about it. We're still winning games. You feel the same way too, Alex, that the Celtics, your hated rival, can overcome this PR by just winning basketball games?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll blow away like everything else in the news after a few days. But the issue that I have is that not only that is he just a brazen fucking idiot, but I think he will continuously get second chances in this league because I think that this league has, a really low bar with morality and standards when it comes to some of these coaches and like how people can get away with shit. So I think he'll have a job and lots of prospects as long as that's the case. But if we're just talking basketball with the roster, I love the acquisition from Indiana. I thought they gave up a lot of pieces off the roster, but I thought it was more of clearing the deck and putting, full speed ahead towards competing with Milwaukee, particularly, especially because he used to come from that system as well. I like the Gallinari acquisition too. I think it just adds another layer to how they.
He's out the whole season.
He's out the whole season.
He tore his ACL.
Oh shit! Okay, but I mean,
So
even
they got Blake
forward,
instead. I mean, the big issue is how healthy is Time Lord going to be when the playoffs come around. That's what it's really going to come down to.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's obviously like their best asset in terms of bigs, but even if he doesn't play this year, which he won't, I think that he still, extends the defenses and keeps, a lot of these bigger rosters honest when they're going to be playing them in the offseason. I think he's has the ability to do that with his ability on offense. And, again, Blake Griffin, another body, he's got his own issues off the court, but I think that this team did get him better, markedly better in certain areas, but I think ultimately they're still going to fall short with a healthy Milwaukee in the East.
All right. And speaking of another Eastern Conference team, the Sixers, we have a full year of James Harden and Joel Embiid coming together, making plenty of additions in the offseason, whether PJ Tucker or Montrezl Harrell makes an impact, or we just see, Doc being able to make the most of this roster as per usual. And an early exit in the playoffs might leave a bad taste in their mouth, and they might reverse that and make the change. The Sixers this year, with this team, especially with this duo of Harden and Embiid for a full year, are they going to be really making strides?
What does making strides mean?
Like do
are
you
they going to
expect
make the
that? Do you
Eastern
think?
Conference Finals?
Yeah, exactly. Do you think they can be
Maybe.
good enough to?
I still don't think they're
get that
better than
far?
Milwaukee or Boston.
Okay,
Boston
so they're
just beat
number
them
3.
last night. Like this is I mean, Embiid looks kind of out of shape last night. I have zero trust in Harden in the playoffs. Doc doesn't also have that great a record, and
Clearly,
I don't know. I mean, Embiid will probably win MVP. It's either him or Luka. So coming from there, like I don't really. I don't know. It should be. I mean, in theory, they still have some pieces they can move around. Like they could still trade Tobias Harris to like Portland or some shit. Maybe trade him to the Lakers for a pick and something else. I don't know. Maxey. I mean, there's stuff there that they can do. Like they can improve. Maxey's still super young. There's no reason they can't have him start like improving by running more pick and rolls in the regular season. Like you have Embiid and James Harden. You in theory are gonna sleepwalk to 50 wins, so you can get a little weird with stuff.
Yeah, you can try a lot of things with this roster with with timing and how they operate this, like their starting five and their and things like that. But I think like I really like Maxey. I like some of the talent they have on this roster. I think that the cap is probably like this, the 3 or 4 seed in the East. I don't think that they can necessarily compete with Milwaukee just on paper. But yeah, I mean, I just don't have as much faith in Doc as other people do. I think that he's kind of patient zero for choke jobs.
Almost overstayed his welcome at this point.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is I think his clock's actually genuinely ticking there.
Okay, well, how much better is D'Antoni going to be when they hire him instead?
That was what 10th team.
Well, they'll score 140 points and won't play any defense.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, like that's where it's going. Like when this is Daryl Morey recreating Houston with
right
with an actual big man.
Yeah, well, a lot of these rosters and a lot of these organizations, particularly in the NBA, with the limited amount of players and like the way that the contracts are constructed, like I think there's so much mobility for teams to kind of change their operation on a dime if things aren't working.
And here's the other question: like, how long does this go? Like, I don't remember. Did Harden sign past next season?
I think it was a 3-year deal.
Okay, so like,
yeah,
maybe 1 year with this, and then either he bitches out, or what you think Embiid asked for a trade?
Right, because they'll probably blow it up in theory if they don't feel like if they're maximizing the juice out of Embiid, they're gonna try to blow it up.
I mean, it's not like they don't have like a piece that they could build around. Like you could, in theory, build around Maxey. Like there's no reason he could just be a more scoring version of Tyler of Halliburton. Like
they have assets. It's just that it just depends on what their expectations are. And I mean, because I don't think they're a championship team. I don't even think at their best days they're going to be a championship team.
Yeah, no, this is like it's. I don't know. I don't care how in shape Harden is. I have zero faith in him in the big moments.
Well, I don't either. Yeah, he's a choke job.
It really is funny how the Sixers are a team. How long? Trust the process. We're pushing a decade with this, and they're still almost in the same spot of insanity. You try things, and you get the same result. Well,
I mean, look. You think about some of the things that happened to them. They're the Kawhi shot away from probably winning that title. like it doesn't really matter who comes out of the East in the 2019 season. It was like Steph versus everybody else at that point. Like that Eastern Conference team would win. Like we're talking about this team differently if Kawhi misses that shot and they're the ones who come out of the East to beat Golden State in 2019.
Yeah.
This is like, and then there was 2 years ago when they played Boston. Like it was Embiid by himself. Like everyone was hurt. And then last year they were still kind of gelling and they don't know what they're doing. I don't know. I still don't think they're going to win. I think they could have a possibility if things break right. But I don't know. There's too much I think bad juju on this team. Not in the same way that it is with the Nets where they don't deserve it. I think it's just ingrained in a couple of their key pieces.
Yeah, I think they have better structural groundwork than Brooklyn. I think it's more apples to oranges there. Right? But I think the way you put it was more apt. I think it's kind of a bad juju. It's just something in the air with that team and how they're able to sustain a season year after year.
Let's keep the conversation going with more teams who have drama. I mean, what are we doing here with this? The Warriors, they won the NBA Finals. Then you have Draymond punch out Jordan Poole in training camp. They did win their home opener against Dallas. They did have some tough losses, subtractions this season. There's no Otto Porter Jr., no Gary Payton II, no Damian Lee. But like I said, they did bring back Jordan Poole. Andrew Wiggins became a real breakout star as one of the top, arguably 20 players in the league. Despite their drama and, of course, winning cures all, do we see the Warriors going for championship number 5 this year and having a legitimate chance with it?
Yes. I mean, they have a legitimate chance. I think the real question comes down to, is Draymond Green part of it at this point?
Okay.
They're already paying. I think this roster is going to cost $500 million with the luxury tax. And that's before the Wiggins contract kicks in. That's before the Jordan Poole contract kicks in. Mm-hmm. They have to decide whether they're going to re-sign Clay. I think they leaked this video to kind of say this is kind of it for Draymond.
You think, there's a big controversy. Is who leaked it? You think,
and this is not in the same way that like some of these other controversies, like, oh, the leak matters more than the context. Like they should have suspended him.
Yep, they just said take a break.
I mean that was he did it kind of for content. I don't know.
I have permission to punch you guys for more content.
Absolutely not in that way.
I'm kidding. But you were saying,
I don't know where he ends up though. Like who trades for him?
Yeah, who wants a guy
Detroit?
Who
I think
problems?
Detroit or Atlanta are the only teams that trade for him. And the real question is like, are they? They're kind of like hesitant. I think the only thing that keeps it hesitant is like, how confident that we can actually have Wiseman replace some of what he does. Like, how confident are we in Moody and Kuminga that they can kind of fill this void? That it's like that big a deal. But like, I think it's like a 50-50 chance he stays on the roster. I think if they win the title, he's probably coming back. But I don't think so otherwise.
Well, yeah, he's a unrestricted free agent in 2024, so he's still playing out that 4-year, $100 million contract. I think the way I look at it is I almost look at it as the tipping point, like a bifurcation point with Poole and Draymond Green because of what they represent. Because Draymond is kind of the old guard, the original founding one of the 3 draft picks that launched them into that dynasty era in that arena. So it'll be kind of a signpost on his way out if that's what they end up doing, that saying basically, okay, we're turning a corner, we're going with Poole, and we want to sustain this as long as we possibly can. But if he does stay, I think it would only be a byproduct or a symptom of them making the finals and winning again back to back, because it shows that this window is not closed yet and that they don't need to necessarily commit to a payout for Poole yet for the future. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, whatever you can do to provide these wins. And I mean, that'd be saying something. They could win their 5th championship in so that'd be the first. It started it all in 15. So, 5 championships in 8 years, that's something else. And then, might as well go for the 6th one together at that point and try the Bulls dynasty.
Real quick, the way I look at this team, I kind of almost see something going on similar to what we see with the Kansas City Chiefs, Matt, because the way I look at the Chiefs is that they kind of mortgaged the short term for the long term with the trade and acquisition of Tyreek Hill and what they got back in return for that, because it basically signaled to the rest of the league that it's like, we're here to stay and this is why. And it's because they're willing to sacrifice a year, even if it's not immediately right now, particularly, and it just shows that they're laying the groundwork to continue their run for another few years. So I feel the same way about this team.
And you feel like Draymond could be the Tyreek Hill in this case if they were to do that?
He could be the sheep sacrifice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like there's who would be a funny team that they would send him to, and I think he kind of deserves this. Send him to Charlotte.
I was just thinking that.
Can we talk about like an undepressing roster, depressing roster that no one's really talking about? Like they're bad. Like they should be tanking. That like outside of LaMelo, they got nothing. Like you got the ghost of Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier. They got Mark Williams, who's going to be okay. Your best scorer is in prison right now, I think.
Yeah, or he's a DUI.
No. Miles Bridges like. Assaulted.
I forgot about.
He was domestic abuse.
Yeah, that was a tough story because I really liked Miles Bridges.
Yeah, I did too. Like this is a depressing franchise. Like they're rookies. They got Kai Jones last year. I really like Kai Jones. Like what the fuck is this franchise doing?
And being owned by Michael Jordan too, isn't that a sense of irony? If he made a deal with the devil, I'll allow you to be the greatest player of all time, but then have the biggest obstacles as an owner.
Yeah, I think it's just a kind of an ego thing too, because he thinks that, being the best player, all time is like an immediate translation to like the upper management. It's just not.
Yeah, clearly no owner, arguably except maybe John Elway in all sports, has been a successful player first and then.
Yeah, but John always had trouble too. You can't get a quarterback to save his life.
True.
I don't know. You know, they're not enjoying the Russell Wilson experience.
Let's ride.
Oh my goodness.
That
That's
horrible, shitty Subway commercials. Like, come on,
bro. They might have hired like the worst coach ever. Like short of Matt Patricia.
Matt Patricia's so bad.
they are.
Dude, I'm a Lions fan. I'm well aware of how bad Matt Patricia is.
Oh,
except for that one time we played them like 2 weeks ago and they fucked everything.
I did not know you were a Lions fan. You were maybe the first person that I ever met in my 27 years of life.
I didn't ever tell you how that happened. That's a story for another pod.
for sure. He's a closeted masochist. That's why.
It evens it out with the.
I was so happy right before that week when we played the Patriots. Like, look, people like, yeah, you know, Jared Goff is the problem with the team. It's like, no, the problem is we can't guard anybody. We can't stop a nosebleed. Like,
oh man, I definitely want to hear your takes very soon on football on another day, very soon, Bog. But let's switch it up. Instead of talking about the teams, I want to talk about the rookies real quick. Anybody from the NBA draft class you're looking forward to see? Well, definitely not Chet Holmgren after getting injured in the summer.
I love this draft. I like this draft. I like the top of this draft really good. Pablo is fucking good. That kid is really good.
Great debut. The Italian stallion on that one.
That was a really good draft for Orlando to take him.
I still think
Jabari was really good.
Yeah,
obviously we're not going to see Chet. But like they got the other two J's. Like this was an exciting draft class. It's going to be like really interesting.
And I think it's going to be like a delayed pop. And what I mean by that is I think that certain guys are going to pop year 2 and year 3, particularly because I really liked Jaden Ivey for Detroit, and I also really liked Jabari Smith. I actually thought Jabari Smith was going to go number 1 overall.
I did as well. I thought he would have been in the right pick.
I thought he was the best talent in the draft, and I think that he was like the best, most athletic, greatest rebounder, and he's just a really like agile scorer too, especially like his opening night. He wasn't like 17 and 7 in the minutes he played, but I'm interested to see Johnny Davis in Washington too, because I don't know how long this run is going to go with the superstar
Bradley Beal.
Was it again?
Bradley Beal.
Yeah, sorry, Bradley Beal. So I don't know how long they're going to hold on with Bradley Beal before they blow it up, and he may take the reins eventually in year 2. So we'll see. I'm excited to look out for him.
Yeah, I like the top picks for this draft. Like I'm excited for almost all of them. Like Jaden Ivey and Cade, they're going to be fun. Like they may not win a lot of games this year, but Jaden Ivey is going to be really good. I think Keegan Murray is going to be very good. The Pacers kid, I'm super high on him. Who was
Benedict Mathurin?
Yeah, super high on him. I don't even remember who the 7th pick was. I'm happy with SoCan. Like not super happy with the later picks, but I think this is a fun, exciting draft. There's some like getting Duran. Like the Pistons won that draft. Like they had a great fucking draft. Like they got Ivy and Duran. So like that was like this is gonna be a fun, good rookie class. These kids are gonna be like really good.
How do you feel about Sochan?
Look, I'm gonna say this in general. I play him a million minutes. I want to see Sochan and Josh Primo running pick and rolls all day long. I don't want us breaking 15 wins this season. I want Victor in a Spurs jersey. This is going to be the shittiest season since before they get drafted, Duncan, and I don't care. We have 2 proven shooters in our starting lineup, and one of them is Keldon Johnson, and the other one is Devin Vassell. We're going to be bad, and that's good. I don't care. I'm fine. I wish we got another big man, which, Victor. I'm going to be super happy when we end up with the number 2 pick next year and get Scoot. So, it is what it is. We're going to be bad. I don't really know about he wasn't on any mocks that I saw him going there, so I wasn't really paying attention to him. I really wanted Matthias. I don't know. We're gonna be bad. It's gonna be fun to watch them. I'm gonna enjoy watching all the mock drafts having Spurs at the top until we get the number 2 pick, because we can't have nice things anymore.
I'll let you go, Alex, first.
Oh no, I was just gonna say the last thing on Sochan. I was actually really impressed watching that big Kansas game middle of the season last year. I thought that he's like immensely talented. I think they took him, particularly just because of his body, because he could spread the floor. He's kind of the ideal wing dual scorer type, and I think that San Antonio is kind of looking to move in that direction.
Yeah, we didn't really have a power forward since LaMarcus Aldridge left, and like that, it's good though because Keldon's not a 4, he's a 3, and
Right.
and having an actual 4 on the roster makes a difference.
Locke, let me just ask you a blunt question. Does Greg Popovich give a shit anymore?
No,
I think he literally implied that in a press conference.
If they get the first pick, I think he coaches 1 year Victor and leaves. Because I didn't think he was going to still be here.
Yeah. I thought maybe Becky, what's her name, was going to take over.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
She won an WNBA Finals championship.
Yeah, that team was not good. I mean, they were good last year, but she made them way better.
Yeah.
She's a hell of a coach. I don't know who Pop's successor is now. But
Tim
because
Duncan?
they keep hiring all our fucking assistants.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know. We're gonna be bad. I'm gonna basically feel like it's gonna be what like a Knicks fan feels like, but actual have hope.
Hey, we still have hope though.
Here's a minor conspiracy theory. What if Boston delays firing Udoka and then they take him back to take Popovich's shoes?
Then they'll show that he really can coach wherever the hell he wants.
Clapping cheeks at the Riverwalk.
Oh my goodness. Yo, let's talk about the Clippers real quick. At the time of this recording, Kawhi Leonard's going to be returning officially after 16 months on the shelf. Do we think that now he, with a healthy Kawhi Leonard, Paul George still at it, do we expect the Clippers to get into a good place again? And do you think Kawhi can still be Kawhi?
Like
do you think he?
Toronto, we're not looking at MVP Kawhi. Like Kawhi in the playoffs is incredibly devastating.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was going forward. Do we see him as a top 5 NBA player in this league?
Top 5, maybe. Like, do I have trust that in the playoffs a Kawhi-led team can win the finals? Yes. Do I think that this team's gonna win? I honestly don't know. Similar to James Harden, I don't have a lot of faith in Paul George. But unlike the Philly, I trust Ty Lue, and they are very deep. I don't know. I think certainly if they play the Nuggets, it would be an interesting series. I feel like there would be a lot of ghosts in that series. Yeah, I think they have a shot if they're healthy. They built the roster ideally how you'd want it. It's deep as hell. You got the 2 superstar wings. We don't know what we're going to get out of John Wall at the very least. That might be one of the most underrated pickups of the offseason.
Yep.
Could have been a steal, yeah.
Yeah. This could be they could win the title. I don't know if they will.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I don't think they're better than Golden State. And I'm hesitant to say they're better than Denver. But I don't know where Denver's ceiling is because I'm not sure what we're going to get out of Michael Porter Jr.
What about Memphis?
I think they're better than Memphis.
Okay.
Because you can't count on Jaren Jackson staying healthy at any point. And I think Kawhi and Paul George are better than Ja and Desmond Bane. I think Memphis should have traded for KD.
Oh, I totally agree. I said all chips in on that before we left last year, and I think that may be their downfall is just not having enough firepower.
I also think the Pelicans should have traded for KD.
Oh yeah.
They just guess they couldn't have made a deal.
To be fair to the Pelicans, they don't know what they have. Like they were kind of scrappy last year, but without like a healthy Zion, you can't get a good grasp of it. And you're better off with the long-term upside of Ingram versus whatever you're mortgaging with that to get KD.
Well, I said from the get-go, dating back to last year, I think they should have mortgaged, selling in obscurity when Zion was on the sideline, because I just don't trust building a nucleus around Zion. I would rather move forward with Brandon Ingram and McCollum in the short term.
Branching off of this and focusing on the Pelicans, Zion looks like he's hurt again. I don't think Zion is going to be a big deal in this NBA. Yeah, he's let me get the official injury.
Because he looked fine when I was watching. I watched through halftime.
He's like a fullback jumping up and
Yeah.
down. It's ridiculous.
Excuse me, I got that information wrong. I did not see last night's game. But regardless, on focusing on Zion returning to another healthy season, do we see him at this weight, especially this body type? Is he still going to figure it out? Is he going to be able to figure it out to have the glory he had in the college game? Or as Bach liked to say a lot last season, he's going to be eating his jambalaya and being known as a real mystery and why he was never.
Well, I mean, when we're talking about like glory in the college game, he still kind of has that. Like he's still, when he plays, he's unbelievable. I think he's in better shape. I think he really was just kind of hurt last year. And I think the beauty of what the Pelicans have done is, even if Zion's kind of like a sunk cost, they have enough assets that they can like.
Oh yeah.
They also had a really good draft too. Like they got the Dyson Daniels kid. That's a nice little pickup for them too. I don't know. They got an interesting future. I know a lot of people like them. I know like every time online I see somebody like doing some weird 2K thing and they do a like a projection for the season, like the Pelicans are always really good. So it's not like they don't have a. Let's see. I mean, if he's healthy, they're going to be a problem.
Well, yeah, but it's precisely the fact that when he is healthy, I feel like it's the best opportunity to sell high on Zion, because it's not that I don't have confidence and faith that he's unbelievably talented. I just think that he's one of the guys who's snake bitten with cursed injuries. I think he's going to have kind of the Greg Oden trajectory that I think a lot of people are concerned about, especially when you start having stuff below the belt, issues with the knees and the feet. So I just don't. It's not even a matter of commitment, to his dietary restrictions or any kind of commitment to getting on the court and practicing routinely with the team. I just think that he's one of those guys that's proverbially snake bitten.
I think a lot of that had to do with he didn't eat right. I think he really was just too fat to begin with. I think he really kind of had a very similar. I think his build it's the modern day Charles Barkley. He was too fat to begin his career, and he didn't really know how to like eat right and take care of his body. And I think that's what's going to hurt him in the beginning. I think like Embiid was projected that same way when he started. He played like 23 games in his first 3 seasons. I think Zion is something similar. Some of these young guys are just they're just bitten in the beginning, and it takes a little while to understand their bodies, and then they figure it out.
I would agree with that, but I think the issues compound when you're factoring in both weight and a recurring injury history. Because I think with Embiid, he always had like a little baby fat, but he was never this fat. And I think that his commitment was never really called into question the same way Zion is. So I think that he kind of, for me, falls more into the camp of like the Odins and the Bill Waltons, because they have recurring issues, and I don't know. It just feels like a different issue to me. But that's just me. We'll see. I think breaking off this conversation, because I think this is definitely probably the most fascinating team in the league. I don't know if I can't speak for all you guys, but I think that this team has the most upside potential to get in that top 4, top 5 spot in the playoffs, because they have so much talent, so much promise with both their young guys and with Brandon Ingram and McCollum. And I'd hate to see that go to waste just because they're counting on Zion to be their nucleus.
And it's not like they can't build a package around Zion to go send him somewhere else to get
right.
Another superstar.
Exactly.
Like if Phoenix implodes, which kind of seems likely, maybe Devin Booker wants out. Maybe
Especially
they swing a Zion for DeAndre type thing.
Especially with the mess regarding the Suns, which again another great transition.
It's almost like I know what I'm doing.
Well, you are good at this. With the Suns, who start their season with a huge cloud over their head. The Phoenix over Robert Sarver for 1 year. After a 1-year independent investigation, they found him using the N-word multiple times, sexually harassed multiple male and female employees, and assaulted them as well. It's as toxic a work environment as ever. And they made the finals 2 seasons ago. With this, and Sarver is definitely going to be selling this team. how bad is this going to affect the Phoenix Suns franchise who has so much momentum before this story broke out?
First off, they didn't. They had a lot of like problems.
Well, yeah, but I'm
first
saying,
off, the
with
the
these
NBA
deep playoff
with,
runs, I meant.
yeah, with the deep.
Yeah.
Okay. The NBA dropped the ball with the Sarver thing.
Mhm.
Similar to how the NFL dropped the ball with Deshaun Watson, the NBA dropped the ball with the Sarver thing. He got a 1 year, $10 million fine. Like that's chump change for this type of guy. Like he should have gotten similar to the Donald Sterling banhammer. That's what they should have
happen. I'm surprised that didn't happen with.
Well, hold on, real quick. So I just want to make sure I'm getting this correct. So you wanted him to get fired and forced to sell the team?
Yeah, based on the toxic work culture that he created, the expansion, the investigation that they put him under, and the allegations that they found were severe allegations. Like they kind of just waved him off.
I'm not disagreeing with you. So then, how is that the same or equivalent for Ime Udoka? Because I would rather have him canned as well.
Because I guess
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not as following for the Udoka thing as I do for this. Like I know more about the Sarver situation, and my issue with the Udoka thing is I don't know enough because the team was kind of coy with it.
Okay.
That's it. If there was more information where it was, because my understanding is still kind of foggy. I'm not entirely clear whether or not that relationship was consensual or not.
It was, but it's still like completely ineptly and just completely unprofessional.
Okay, I don't think that unprofessional is the same way as what Sarver did. I find it as a different aspect, and maybe it's possible because I don't have all the information on the Udoka thing. Then I might be
the issue that. Sorry, you just froze again. But the concern that I have with a situation like Udoka is that you start spreading and planting seeds of nepotism within the organization if you have a guy that wields that amount of power. So it's not even just the immediate ramifications of a guy who's poisoning the well like Sarba, because what he did was horrible. And I don't know as much probably as Bach does already, but I think that you can't have two separate tiers of justice when you're dealing with a lot of issues internally with an organization. And I think that's why they always clear the deck and do wholesale changes when you have a Donald Sterling, when you have a Sarba like they should have, and when you have Udoka. So I don't think they're too much different. I don't know when you cut out, so.
Yeah, no, I'm back. I'm sorry. I don't know why my internet keeps cutting out.
Okay.
No, but I think the Sarver thing was worse. I think it was over a longer period of time. I think it was a different type of issue. I look, even ignoring the ownership thing, like there's a lot of chemistry issues with this team. You have DeAndre Ayton who does not want to be there. I think he got a little bit screwed in the draft with Detroit going for Duran. They matched immediately. I think he's got he's a fine player. I think there's a good chance that they move off of Chris Paul. Where he goes, I don't know. You think the Lakers can convince them to take Westbrook?
The AARP card.
But this is a good chance that this team gets it. And we talked about this a couple times. Like how historically good they were.
Mm-hmm.
And like their numbers and how stupid they were. For them to get embarrassed in the way that they did it's like that's a thing. And like Jay Crowder wanting out, Jay Crowder. I don't know where. I don't know. This team could very easily be at the top of the Western Conference again. They could just just be professional about it. But I don't know. It's hard to trust a team again like this. Like they were the young plucky upstarts 2 years ago. They were like the serious well-oiled machine last year. And I don't know I don't know if I trust them. Like there's no doubt that they're going to be good. But do I think that they have the mental fortitude? Like if they play Dallas again and Luka starts laughing at them again, like what do you do about that? Like how do you handle that?
You gotta let Chris Paul walk, and you gotta make changes.
Well, they can't let him walk. They gotta trade him. He's in year 2 of year 1.
I mean, like the same way that they would need to, make a change with Russell Westbrook. I think that they're looking at an old aging asset that's not clicking with the direction they want to go in. And I think their window of opportunity is starting to be counted, starting to be on the clock, because it's not that the nucleus isn't solid. I think that I'm actually higher on Ayton than a lot of people, even though he's had his cohesion issues with this team. But I think Booker is still the way of the future with this roster. And I think that they can still stay on top of the West for another couple of years, but they got to move Chris Paul next year.
Yeah, it's like there's no shame in retooling around like
oh yeah,
Booker Ayton is still a solid foundation. Most teams would kill for a Booker Ayton.
Yeah,
that's still one of the 5-10 best duos. How old is Booker? Is Booker 25 yet?
He's like 25. Yeah.
Yeah, and Ayton's 22. Like that's still a really good building block. Yeah, you still have Mikal Bridges, who still could probably be doing more. Cam Reddish, they'll probably have under contract. They're basically like an actual guard away from being, like serious again. It doesn't mean that they're like taking a step back, removing Chris Paul for assets and stuff. Doesn't mean it's over. Some teams you have a window, you blew it. They blew it twice, and it's not like there's no one saying you got to blow it all up. You just you're not worried about. You're no longer worried about the idea that like Devin Booker is going to say, I want to go play with Cat and D'Angelo Russell in Minnesota.
I think as long as you keep reassuring that you're going to do what's best for Devin Booker for the sake of the team as well. Like I think you can get away with being a kind of point guard by committee as long as you continue to make Devin Booker the centerpiece. Because as long as you're operating around him and you have a solid defense to back it up, I think that you can still operate a team as a point guard by committee. But you have to do a full retooling and pivot in that direction.
And also, like, this is where kind of removing Sarver would actually help that argument, because like he's been notorious for like being penny pinching and like selling assets for less than they're worth. So I think if they're like moving on from Sarver, I think it would be a little bit easier for them to sell the teardown.
Well, I think if you look back at Sterling too, like I think getting rid of him totally reinvigorated the team too. It inspired them to play in spite of him and what he represented. So I think even if you make a wholesale change and you oust him, I think that may actually push this team better further. Never know.
I don't know. I think they're a team that's probably going to step back. I have nowhere idea.
Jones too. So
I don't know where this team will end up. I mean, it's not like they can't be good, but there was the Ringer had a piece today about like teams with future. They have all their picks. Like they're not getting any more picks and they're not really sending picks out. So it's not like they can't, figure out some way to flip assets for something bigger.
Yep.
I want to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks more in depth now. As you mentioned, Bach, we're going to have a healthy Chris Middleton. We're going to have a team with George Hill returning back. You have Drew Holiday still at it. Serge Ibaka. You have a lot of things to be really excited about with this team that did not make the finals last year, but maybe that they can go back after a year off. Giannis. Yes.
Can I ask a serious question?
Yes.
Has Ibaka played serious minutes since 2019? Like no. Really, I don't think, like, I know he was the Clippers and I think he was hurt last year, but like, I don't feel like I've seen him play basketball in like 3 years. And that's like they have a problem. They don't really have they don't have a next wave coming, mostly because they traded every pick they had. It won them the title, but like they don't really have a next group coming, and they don't have, like, you're kind of relying a little bit too much on Brook Lopez, who kind of looked when he was, just healthy for like 9 games last year. So they do have, obviously having Giannis, it covers up a lot of that, but I have no reason to doubt that this team is going to step off. They're going to have to figure out how to retool better, but I do worry about their big lineup a little bit.
This is like the biggest lineup on paper.
Yeah.
Until Oklahoma City rolls out whatever the fuck they're rolling out with, like where Shea is the smallest one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they also picked up Ingles from Utah as well. So he's another wing.
That's fine, but he's 30 4 and he's coming off an ACL injury. So excited for that. Like I like Ingles. I think that's a good. Oh my God, don't.
No, I'm not saying he's going to change anybody's life. I just mean like on paper, like they're long and they're tall, and I think that matters in the playoffs. Especially particularly. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I had them as my preseason finals champions. I think that this is the best team in the East, and I think that they're just about a Middleton away from beating the Warriors. So, I mean, for me, like they're huge on paper. They have the right recipe for playing, defensive basketball, and I think that they can manufacture enough points between Middleton and Giannis, to compete with Boston. So,
oh yeah, on paper, fully healthy, this is the best team in probably in the league. Like,
yeah,
that's what it is. I'm mostly nitpicking on the fact that they don't really have a lot of youth, and I'm a little worried about the Brook Lopez stuff. Like that's really it. I still also don't think that Bud is that good a coach. But that's a personal thing. But that's look, I have no. Giannis is like 28.
Yeah,
he's only conceivably going to get better. It's hard to nitpick a team like this.
Yeah, and I mean, and the other thing too is like Pat Connaughton's a nice piece. I mean, he kind of gives you a little bit of wing scoring as well. I think that what's underappreciated is how much actual veteran experience is on this team when it comes playoff time. But I think they're the best team in the league actually.
Hopefully we'll see that turn into another championship, maybe. And maybe after that, then the Grayson Allen era can start if Giannis isn't
Grayson Allen is a liability.
Clearly. Arguably the most interesting offseason move to some was seeing where Donovan Mitchell would end up. After literally months of trolling, after all these rumors about him going to New York, and Danny Ainge just playing with Knicks fans, he ultimately trades him to Cleveland. I don't know if you believe the rumors that he did that out of spite or whatever, but Donovan Mitchell is now joining Jared Allen and the Cleveland Cavaliers. With this trade acquisition, does this add to their stock for Cleveland? And do you think Cleveland can make a stronger push? Maybe they make a conference finals with this move. Maybe they win the East. I don't know. Do you think you can see it happening?
I don't think they're going to win in the East this year. This is probably the best young core. This they're all about 25 or younger. I don't remember how old Jared Allen is. He's been in the league for like a decade. But this is like that's what you need. Like that's what they needed. There's no team better suited to cover up the fact that Donovan Mitchell and can't guard anybody than having fucking Evan Mobley and Jared Allen there. Like this is a really solid. That was like that's a move you make when you know. Like we don't know how good Evan Mobley is. Like that kid is gonna be really fucking good. And they got some pieces. Like they can trade some stuff. I think there's a good chance that LeVert is probably not on this roster by the end of the year. Because they don't know what they do. Like in theory, they could package Kevin Love with something. So it's not like they can't, retool. And they didn't really give up that much. No. They gave up a couple picks, and this is why I think like this might have been like a mistake on Danny Ainge's part is trading with Cleveland versus the Knicks. I'm more certain in the stability of this Cleveland team over the next couple of years than I am about the Knicks. So those picks may not be worth it. Like Lauri Markkanen is okay. Colin Sexton is going to get buckets. Like I like Colin Sexton. I mean, the dude is going to feel like that Alabama game where he was playing 3-on-5 in Utah. That seems to be terrible, but like good for him. I don't know. This was the trade you make when you're like gutsy. This is like a baby Drew Holiday trade where you're like, you have the pieces and you're like one away and that's what you get. Like this team is only going to get better. This is going to be a scale. Like, look, we forget this or it's not talked about. They were the 1 seed before Jared Allen got hurt last year.
That's right.
Like,
Yep.
And they had one person on that team who could dribble. They've doubled the number of people who could dribble in their starting lineup, and Ricky Rubio is coming back. Like, this is going to be a scary team in probably like this. Like, if LeBron leaves the Lakers, I mean, this is like a LeBron team waiting to happen.
Oh boy, what if he was the one to return to Cleveland again?
It would be funny if they were just like the spiteful ex-girlfriend that's just like, nah, we're good over here. We're building something. Because it's like I look at this roster and like I'm literally in love with like the youth movement they have at this team. Like I love everything. Like when Sexton comes back, they're going to be even more lethal. I think they're just ready.
Well, they don't have Sexton. He was part of the trade.
I didn't mean Sexton. I meant Garland. Sorry.
Yeah, Garland got hurt again.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, can we be real? Like Obagi was not a good pick. Like they shouldn't have drafted Obagi.
Oh, I thought that was the biggest flub of the first round because I'm like, I don't know how he even fits with this roster. But I mean, yeah. So I mean, I don't have much to add to what Box said. I do love this roster. I think they're just like burgeoning to like unlock their full potential because they were the 1 seed until Allen got hurt, but like they check every box like on paper, and I think that it just takes a little time with experience. But I think that's why they signed Mitchell to take him over the top.
Yeah, he's a proven playoff scorer. That he'll help them in the times like when their young guys don't know how to do it.
And I think picking up Rubio, I think it was last year too.
Yeah, he was hurt. He tore his ACL last year. That's why like all their guards got hurt except for Garland.
Yeah, right. And I think that's like another veteran presence that will help kind of stabilize the ship midseason if they have like a little bit of a midseason slump. Yeah,
and like we still don't know how much better Mobley's going to get.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Yeah. All right, one more team to talk about for now, but other teams we missed. I'm pretty sure we're going to be excited to see what Dallas does with Luka.
I think this team is going to be bad outside of Luka. He's gonna put up stupid fantasy numbers. He's probably gonna average a triple double. It's gonna be boring as all hell to watch. I do not like this team.
How about what do you like with Minnesota?
I fucking love Minnesota. I love Anthony Edwards. I think that was still a good trade. I think they paid too much for him. But fuck it. That's what they got to do. Anthony Edwards is going to be really good. This team is built differently than those Utah teams. Like they can actually defend kind of like they still have McDaniels. Like Anthony Edwards could lock people up. Maybe Towns is, will actually try on defense, but this is a solid team that actually has some foundation. Whether they're going to go is ultimately going to come to Edwards. And I don't know how much more moves they can make. Like in theory, like maybe that's where you put Chris Paul for Russell Westbrook or D'Angelo Russell. Like maybe that's the move for them to upgrade the point guard. Cause I D'Angelo Russell has not been good since he left Brooklyn. And maybe he was overrated there because that team was terrible. But no, I like the Minnesota team. I think they're going to be exciting. I'm just waiting for Anthony Edwards to do something crazy. I still don't understand his acting. I'm so perplexed by the character that he chose for that movie. That could be like a whole different rant in itself.
This was the Adam Sandler movie, right?
Yeah. His character name was Kermit. He went to Kentucky. They were comparing him to the number 2 pick. Like, why would you want to be a less pick than you were in the actual draft? And also, the kid is undrafted. Why would you compare him to the number 2 pick? Like, we don't do that.
How about with Joker re-signing with Denver? Do we think that and a returning Jamal Murray can give them the hope and dreams that the people of Denver wanted?
Depends on Michael Porter Jr. That's really it. Like if he's Michael Porter Jr. that like he actually could be like the bigger Clay with the jump shot and can actually play defense, yeah, they're going to be dangerous as fuck. But if he's the Michael Porter Jr. that we saw the 9 games before he got hurt again, like that, he might ultimately be like a sunk cost, and that would be like crazy. And if he's a sunk cost, you got to try to move him. The question is where. I think the Ringer had the best he's the type of piece that maybe you flip for Jimmy Butler.
Oh,
then that was another one with re-signing Tyler Hero.
They're going to be
Miami.
Terrible.
You still don't think
they don't have a starting power forward.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be objectively Like they'll figure it out and they'll be better than people expected. And there's a good chance they do some dumb shit and they upset a couple teams in the playoffs. I really like their draft though. They got that the Djokovic kid who I really wanted San Antonio to draft because he would have fit really well. And maybe we get more like a healthy Oladipo and Tyler Hero, like, and maybe but they don't have a power forward.
Yeah, it feels like they kind of took like 2 steps back this offseason just with, by election. I'm not as high on Miami as like people were last year. I think that they definitely took some steps back. I think that with going back to the Michael Porter Jr., I think that there's still probably a couple plays in their hand to make a move by the trade deadline, maybe in February or March, whenever it is. Because I think that they may be like a piece away from taking the final step to get over the finish line and compete with Golden State.
Oh, and the other thing with Miami, we're now in year 3 of waiting for Bam to get a jump shot. Or be able to consistently hit a mid-range. Not just like a 3-pointer, but like a mid-range jumper and be like consistent. Like he's a really, really good player, but it's kind of weird that a guy who is in Miami and was like has this workhorse mentality still does not have this skill set in him.
I think that was the sell on him too, was like he's kind of a grinder. He's not going to be like the ultra talented guy. Like I understand learning a skill set and keeping a defense honest, but like I don't know how much more you can get out of him as well.
I don't understand why he can't figure this out. Like that's the thing.
Simmons figure it out,
Well, that's because he doesn't want to. I don't think mentally they're the same person. I think it's very frustrating to Miami fans, and I think it may be one of the rare misses on the coaching staff that we're now in year 3 waiting for this to develop.
Yeah.
Look, they taught Josh Richardson to shoot for like 2 years, and that got him like $80 million, and he was the centerpiece for the Jimmy Butler trade. Like, you can't tell me you can't teach Bam how to shoot a 15-footer. I taught myself how to shoot a 15-footer.
Bach, you really do give off coaching vibes. I really think if you're once you're finished with your career in EMT work, or if there's a great 60 Minutes or Real Sports Story where you go into coaching, I support that.
I mean, I've had coaching gigs. I coached when I was like 24. I was an assistant coach of a girls basketball team, and then there was a couple of gigs that I tried out for. Yeah.
No way. Oh man, Alex, would you be a good coach, or would you suck?
No. I do not like children.
Well, that's very nice to hear. That's definitely.
I don't think they like me either.
That's a sign.
I think what it is too, like, yeah, it's a good sound, but I think I'm just like too impatient for a lot of people with learning. I kind of got like a little bit of that LeBron thing where it's like I expect you to like come in with like a lot to work with.
Well, that's why you can't teach like little kids, but if you get like a high school level or something, where they're
like the main thing is defense, right? Like you really have to teach the youth defense.
Well, you also gotta
you don't really need to teach it. You just need to like inspire them to play defense. I think like you can teach like positioning, like having like being in forcing a guy to his right or to his left and getting into positions and sets. But like I think a lot of it is just like desire.
Right. Okay. Basically, I think those are the big other teams that give a few minutes. So, I mean, the Kings, we like Mike Brown. We think Mike Brown's going to be the one to have the Kings be respectful again.
I think they could be the player.
Really?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Like, you got to remember that they're not chasing Victor. So there's going to be some teams that are going to chase Victor. Like, so San Antonio and Utah and Oklahoma City and the Rockets are all worse than the Kings. That's 4 teams right there. So the Lakers are probably a little bit better than them. Maybe Portland is better than them.
I think Portland's going to fall out.
Yeah, like that's 6 teams right there. There's 13 teams in a conference?
Yep.
16 teams in a conference. That's 10 teams left. Like by definition, if they don't they mathematically they have to make it.
Well, yeah, I mean that's my ceiling for them. I think you just said it perfectly. I don't think that I don't see them doing anything beyond vying for the play-in. That's it.
Which is fine for them. They don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need the motherfucker. Sorry. Washington Yankees. You were saying,
Matt, you got two threats like me.
Stanton just struck out with the runner on second. This team is 3 outs away from going down 2-0. What a shame. Continue. Sorry.
He's loaded. Yeah. Go ahead.
I like their rookie. They fucked up with the Halliburton trade, but they'll be fun, kind of. Maybe De'Aaron Fox will take a step. Look, they make the plan. Like, you make the play on and a thing or two breaks right, and maybe you convince somebody that, hey, maybe I could be the next Phoenix or something.
I want to be. Yeah, I mean, that Kings fan. The only true Kings fan is Hassan. What's his name? The comedian.
Hassan Minaj.
Yeah,
I love Hassan Minaj. I think he's great.
All right, we definitely have to give just a few minutes on the Knicks that I hope makes the play in. Didn't get Donovan Mitchell, but we get Jalen Brunson. I really hope Julius Randle, since we're clearly stuck with him. Not saying he needs to be
hold on.
great.
Let's be clear. You're not clearly stuck with him. I'm pretty sure you convinced the Lakers to take it for Westbrook.
You really think so? I mean, do you really think that Russ would be a good fit?
No, but I think that they would waive him in the same way that they were thinking about doing that trade if they got Donovan Mitchell anyway.
I mean, I honestly, anything better, because he clearly doesn't like it here. He doesn't like us. I really can't think of a New York athlete who in between seasons had so much going for him with so much love, and then, turns into a hater after the fact. And I feel like the vibe here is we just want to see him at least give a damn. And if not, then whatever. It's RJ's team, and we'll see if this duo of him and Jalen could be legit. Yep.
I think this falls back to that same thing that I was very adamant about that one year. It was a fluke. Everything about that season was a fluke. His shooting was a fluke. Your defense was a fluke. All of it was a fluke. Like you put too much stock in. I think you got some young, nice guys. RJ got better. I think. Look, the sad thing is Jalen Brunson is the best point guard you've had since Lynn Sanity or Skinny Raymond Felt in the first time. Like,
that was a decade ago.
Yeah, Lynn Sanity was a decade ago, and Skinny Raymond Felt was like 2009.
Just about.
We're getting old.
Like, yeah, dude, I was a freshman in college when Lynn Sanity happened. That's like. This is I don't know. You'll be better. I look, there's gonna be teams in front of you that aren't gonna be good. Like the teams that are gonna make the playoffs. Boston, Miami, or Boston, Milwaukee, Philly, Toronto,
Brooklyn,
maybe Cleveland. There's a couple spots left. I think you're just as good as the Bulls, if not better. Like, they're gonna blow up.
They get better than Atlanta too.
You maybe. I mean, I don't know. Atlanta's kind of weird. You're at least kind of on. I would put you all in the same like thing. You're better than the
playing banks.
You're in that 8 to 10 range. You're better. You're better than Washington. Like, I mean, you don't have the luxury that the Kings do of having all these teams tank. Like, there's going to be 3 teams that tank at least in the East, and it's the Magic are tanking just mostly because they're bad. Detroit may be better than people expect. Indiana is going to be the worst team in the conference. But like, you're better than those teams. Washington could easily implode again. I'm pretty sure the Hornets are going to be terrible. So I mean, like, you have a shot at the play-in. You could be a frisky. Look, I think the funniest thing would be if you played Philly in round 1. I think you actually have a puncher's chance against Philly.
That'd be a tough 7-game series, but
I mean,
like I said, stranger things have happened.
Yeah, I think the best outcome would be you somehow ended up in Toronto in the first round. I think that's an actual team in the first round that you could beat. Or it would be really funny if you played Brooklyn. That would be probably my favorite series.
Yeah, this year I just want to see our young guys, get another year of legitimate growth. I'd like to see what IQ can do if he really has the potential that people think he might have. We want to see Obi making some moves, and it'll be a question if he's going to get minutes again because Julius is still here. Mitch Robinson, if we could just have a full healthy season from him, that'll be a win. And like I said, before with Jalen Brunson and RJ Barrett, if those are the two top guys that can lead to something, then you never know. And when I watched last night's game, a tough loss against Memphis that we were in it until the end.
Well,
You
no,
had
you
some
weren't.
good
You weren't in
surprises.
that. You weren't in it for most of that game. Like the fact that it went in when I got the overtime alert, I was surprised. You were down like 20.
Yeah, and you made that push. I liked what I like seeing what Isaiah Hartenstein did.
That was
He
good
looked
signing.
pretty good. So if he could be anything like that, Cam Reddish looked like what he did in college. So you never know. As long as these guys like Thibs and we can just get another year of growth.
When you got a lot of favorable games in the first couple weeks of the season. You got Detroit, Orlando, Charlotte, Atlanta. So there's a lot of games to work things out and see what you got.
And Evan Fournier, please make clutch threes like that one time you did it once at the first game of the season. And
that only works when he plays Boston. I think last year he averaged like 37 against Boston.
Oh my goodness. Last, just funny things. I'm just interested in you guys before we make our finals predictions. In this world of media we're trying to grow this brand together, I'm just curious, who are some of the NBA commenters you guys like? I know, Bach, you like the Ringer, so I'm assuming you like
That's about it.
Russillo.
I just listened to I listen to Russillo. I love KOC, and I like
Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons. I like who's the guy who does the thing with the mismatch with KOC? Chris Verne.
Mm-hmm.
His voice just bothers me a little bit. But other than that, I like listening.
Okay.
Oh, and like I cannot stand listening to Loss. I just don't like listening to him at all. I don't like him on the Ringer, and I don't like him on the Young Turks either. Anytime I see him on something, I just like, no, I'm not listening to it.
That's funny. Who do you like, Alex? Whose opinion do you value, if anyone's?
When
it comes to NBA.
I value very few people's opinions these days. I definitely like Bill Simmons. I think he's been kind of cast out, but he's fantastic. I mean, I don't know. Because the problem is that ESPN owns pretty much everything NBA, and they're virtually unlistenable. So I don't. There's no voice at ESPN I really value. So it's kind of hard to
not Stephen A. or
he's just
a puppet.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's a whole lot there. I don't know, man. I rather listen to my peers and hear what's going on with people on the streets. I think that's the way to go.
Respect it.
Well, and in fairness too, just watching the games and watching the tape, like that's part of the work too.
What do you guys think of Colin Cowherd?
I don't actually listen to him. I don't listen to the radio.
Mm-hmm. Or his Fox show.
I'll watch it. I like his college football segments, but I think he's kind of hacky.
I think his confidence is amazing, and he has the thickest skin because a lot of people hate that guy. But hey, I think it shows that the confidence is key when you make your takes. And
all you got to do is always assume you're right. That's what I do.
Yeah, and like
even when I'm wrong, I'm right.
I mean, today he said Kirk Cousins was the one who threw the Minneapolis Miracle, and it was Case Keenum instead. Like, wow.
Well, no one said he didn't have a brain injury. I mean, come on. But I mean, like, I don't know. I wouldn't like from experience. When you're in LA too long, you start to garner some kind of like mental illness. Like, there's definitely something to that. So I think that he probably just has hubris out the ears, and I think he's kind of caught up in that LA lifestyle, especially being over at Fox.
Oh my goodness. Having said that, let's transition to these finals picks, especially now that we have an editor who works for us, who could really capture what you say. Tell me the big question in every single podcast, every single radio show, every single TV show, every single streaming service, every time you talk to someone at the bar, at the bus stop, on the subway, at the train station, on a boring first date, tell me who is going to win the Eastern Conference Finals in the NBA, who is going to win the Western Conference Finals, and then tell me from that matchup, who will be your NBA champion this season. I'll start it. I think the Boston Celtics, with their additions to the offseason, despite the issues going on with their coaching staff, they are still have a great core together. They can score, they can play defense, and with the momentum they have going, I think there's no reason not to see the Celtics back in the in the NBA Finals. And I hate the Celtics. I'm a Knicks fan, but I believe Boston is going to win the East. For the West, I actually expect to see the Clippers. And I've done this before 2 years ago. I'm going to take a bold prediction that Kawhi Leonard is able to return to form with his ACL injury. And I know it's very hard. Not a lot of people can come back to that. But with Paul George and some of the draft picks and a good coach in Tyronn Lue, I think even if it's a fluke, that the Los Angeles Clippers are going to somehow make the way back to the finals. And I want to say one thing on the record, and this isn't my take, but I heard this on The Fan, that once Kawhi retires, he's just going to get his porch and we're never going to see him ever again. He'll get his Hall of Fame induction, and then he will just be a true mystery. And how can you not like that? Like, he's literally the most humble athlete maybe in our lifetime. He just balls and he's just a regular ass dude. I just want to throw that out there.
Wait, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If they win the title, does he hang up his jersey as a Clipper or as a Raptor?
Oh, as a Clipper. Oh, wait, no. How about that's a good question, actually.
I think they both hang it up.
Yeah, I think so too. And he's also won finals with the Spurs, but
no, he will not get a banner from the San Antonio Spurs. That will not happen.
You don't think they retire his number?
No.
Oh,
he broke the trend. He was the heir apparent and he ran away.
That's true. But hey, that'd be something if he leads two starving franchises to their first titles. That'd be a great story on the brink of them getting a brand new arena, I believe, next season. That's a cool story for Kawhi. I mean, Kawhi is probably top 3 favorite players ever. I just love that guy and tough.
He was for me until
Oh yeah, they ran up.
I
blame Zaza. This is still all Zaza's fault.
I couldn't agree. I couldn't disagree with you more, Matt. I think he's like the most thin-skinned fucking child, honestly.
Kawhi Leonard, like, where do you?
Yeah, he's just super quiet. I don't think he's humble either.
No, I think he's full of himself. I think that he's very insular, like with his operations, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just think that he leaves too many people wondering and questioning, and he keeps too many people at bay, and I think that just rubs people the wrong way. I think that just by omission, I think he's very elitist, very above the fray, because frankly, he could have had better communications with the organization over the past 2 years relating to his injury, where they could have worked out a structural deal to bring some more talent onto that roster in the past year and a half. So I think they could have done more to maximize the Clippers' chances to win, and it's kind of a shot at his ability to not lead a team as well.
Well, I definitely hear your points, and they're definitely valid, but I think that adds to the mystique of this mystery guy. It's almost like a wrestler playing kayfabe. He just happens to have this ability to have Hall of Fame NBA talent, and whether I could understand how that could turn people off with him being so quiet. It's like, does this person even give a shit?
Wait, hold on. To be fair, Tim Duncan was quiet also, and he's the greatest power forward of all time.
Yeah, but he led by his actions.
Yeah, it's different with Kawhi.
He didn't run away like you said.
All right.
I mean, he almost did.
Sorry, Matt.
and well, no, all
right. So who do you have winning?
But out of those, I think the Celtics will win their long-awaited championship, first time since 2008. Nice. So Celtics winning the finals, and that burns my heart. But they're a good team, and they just improved in the offseason.
Buck, you want to go?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I have Milwaukee going to the finals. I think Giannis is pissed. I think he's mad that they didn't win. And I don't think we've ever really seen him angry before. I think like he knows what it takes, and he knows where the difference is, and I don't think he's just gonna run over everybody. I think it's really going to be a hard time not to give him his third MVP. I just do. On the other side, I know this is going out on a limb a little, and I think I said this a couple years ago.
Go for it.
I think the Nuggets are going to the finals. I want to see a finals matchup between the last two MVPs. First off, because I think that series would be fun as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Second, because I really like Jokic. It's like a lot of fun to watch him. I think Milwaukee's still the better team, but I think that would be a really good series. And I think like that would be like a huge thing for Denver to go to the finals. I think they had the ability to do it. It's going to come down to health, really.
Yeah, I'm glad you emphasized health at the end there, because that would be my transition with picking the West. I think my heart says Golden State versus Denver, with Denver advancing to the finals, but my brain says Golden State versus Memphis and Golden State returning to the finals, just because of how they have multiple ways to win, and they have, poise in those deep playoff runs in years past. But if we're going to shift to the East, I'm going to take Milwaukee as well. And I think that it's probably going to be a Golden State-Milwaukee matchup, with Milwaukee prevailing. I just think that Giannis is the best player in the league, and they're the best team on paper.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Well, that wraps this up. The NBA season has officially begun, even if most people don't care until after the NFL season or Christmas, but it's still here. And we like that. And I'm excited to cover another year with you gentlemen and some other people along the way. And let's go Knicks selfishly, but let's go NBA in general. And the big goal I want is that when it comes to the postseason, we don't have a boring, grueling, rip your eyes out postseason like we did last year. That was terrible. What close games were there? So let's see if the NBA season will be relevant in some way, form, or another, and that the postseason is going to be entertaining this time. So, right, any final words that you guys want to say?
No, I'm good.
All
Matt,
right.
Matt, I want to thank you again. Looking forward to another great season, and let's rock and roll.
Swish,
Yeah.
swish. Appreciate you, gentlemen. We'll see you very soon. All right. Fresh faces, new ideas. Alex Ranniello. Peace out.
Have a good one, guys.